So yeah, it was great just watching them, and then Blake choreographing and working with them and everybody. It was just, yeah. It was
Blake Lively had a major pretrial hearing yesterday, and one of the more striking and widely discussed moments came from what was said in court regarding her long-standing public reputation. During the proceedings, arguments were presented suggesting that certain negative perceptions about her behavior were not recent developments, but rather part of a pattern that, according to opposing counsel, had existed well before the current dispute. This directly challenged the narrative from her legal team, which maintained that accusations, particularly those labeling her as a bully, only began circulating after April 2024, implying they may have been strategically amplified or even constructed in connection with the ongoing controversy. The hearing itself is part of a broader legal conflict tied to the film It Ends With Us, a project that has increasingly become the center of both legal and public scrutiny. While Justin Baldoni is no longer personally involved in the lawsuit, entities and individuals connected to the production remain active participants in the case, continuing to push forward claims and counterclaims. Within this context, one of the most debated elements in court revolved around the admissibility of expert testimony and supporting evidence, with both sides attempting to shape how the timeline of events, and more importantly, public perception, should be interpreted. What made this exchange particularly notable was the effort by opposing counsel to establish that criticisms of Lively's behavior did not suddenly appear in 2024, but instead had surfaced in various forms over time. By doing so, they aimed to weaken the argument that any recent backlash was purely the result of a coordinated smear effort. This line of reasoning brought renewed attention to earlier public incidents and controversies that had already generated discussion online, suggesting that the current situation may be less about a single triggering event and more about an accumulation of perceptions. One such moment that resurfaced during these discussions involved the intense wave of online speculation surrounding Catherine, Princess of Wales, in early 2024. After Kensington Palace announced in January that she had undergone planned abdominal surgery and would be stepping away from public duties for recovery, the initial concern from the public quickly escalated into widespread speculation. Over time, this speculation evolved into elaborate conspiracy theories that spread rapidly across social media platforms, with users analyzing official photos, questioning inconsistencies, and proposing increasingly far-fetched explanations about her absence. This period, often referred to as Kategate, became a defining example of how quickly online narratives can spiral beyond control. A single edited Mother's Day photograph released by the palace became the focal point of global attention, with countless individuals dissecting the image for perceived anomalies. What might have otherwise remained a minor media moment turned into a full-scale internet phenomenon, complete with viral hashtags, memes, and ongoing debates about authenticity and transparency. The situation demonstrated how digital culture can amplify uncertainty, turning speculation into widely accepted narratives regardless of factual grounding. As the controversy unfolded, many public figures, commentators, and social media users engaged with the topic in different ways, some attempting to debunk the claims, others contributing to the humor or absurdity of the moment. Regardless of intent, the collective attention only intensified the situation, reinforcing how quickly reputational narratives can be shaped and reshaped in the public eye. In revisiting this period during the current legal proceedings, both sides appear to be using it as a reference point to argue broader themes about influence, media dynamics, and the origins of public criticism. Ultimately, the resurfacing of these past events in court underscores a key issue at the heart of the dispute. Whether public perception is the result of deliberate manipulation or the natural outcome of a series of highly visible moments over time. As the case continues, this question is likely to remain central, with each side attempting to frame the narrative in a way that supports its interpretation of both past and present events. To be fair, a lot of people online were jumping into the trend and getting involved in the whole situation, adding their own takes, jokes, and speculation as it continued to grow. Social media thrives on moments like this, and once something starts trending, It often becomes a free-for-all where everyone, from everyday users to influencers, feels the urge to participate. However, not everyone chose to engage in that way. Several public figures actually pushed back against the noise and called for a bit more restraint and empathy. For example, Jimmy Kimmel, who often faces criticism himself, was among those who spoke out, alongside Jamie Lee Curtis, urging people to leave Catherine, Princess of Wales, alone and questioning why so many were piling onto a situation involving someone recovering privately. Their stance stood in contrast to the wave of commentary that kept escalating. But then there were others who did jump in, and that includes Blake Lively. What makes this moment particularly significant is that it didn't just pass quietly. It sparked backlash almost immediately. A headline from March 2024 captured the reaction clearly, with fans accusing Lively of bullying after she made light of the ongoing Photoshop controversy surrounding Kate. The language used in that coverage is important, because it reflects how the public interpreted her actions at the time. Long before any of the later legal disputes or narratives involving Justin Baldoni or associated parties, there were already conversations happening online that framed her behavior in a negative light. The situation escalated further because of the context in which her post appeared. Lively shared a clearly edited image on Instagram, making a joke that many interpreted as a direct reference to the speculation surrounding Kate's absence. In her caption, she humorously implied she had just taken the photo and even joked about why she had been missing, which many saw as poking fun at the rumors. What might have been intended as lighthearted or sarcastic instead came across to many as poorly timed and insensitive, especially given that the Princess of Wales was known to be recovering from surgery at the time. Adding to the criticism was the perception that the post wasn't just a joke, but also tied to promotion. It coincided with marketing efforts related to her beverage brand, which led some people to accuse her of using a sensitive, widely discussed situation as a way to gain attention. That combination, humor aimed at a controversial topic plus brand promotion, didn't sit well with audiences. Many users commented that the post felt tone-deaf, with some pointing out that, as a public figure and a mother herself, she might have been expected to show more empathy toward another woman dealing with health issues. The backlash reflected a broader frustration people often have when celebrities engage in viral moments without considering the full context. Comments ranged from disappointment to outright criticism, with some calling the approach mean or cheap marketing. Others emphasized that women, especially those in the public eye, should be supporting rather than mocking one another, particularly in situations involving health and privacy. The reaction wasn't just a handful of negative comments either. It gained traction, with certain criticisms receiving significant engagement and support from other users. What makes this moment even more notable in hindsight is how quickly the narrative shifted soon after. When Catherine, Princess of Wales, later revealed that she had been undergoing cancer treatment, the tone of the entire conversation changed dramatically. What had previously been treated as internet speculation suddenly became a much more serious and personal reality, prompting many to reflect on how far the discourse had gone. In that light, earlier jokes and commentary, including Lively's post, were reevaluated more critically. In the end, this incident became one of several examples used in ongoing discussions about public perception and accountability. It showed how quickly a single post can influence how someone is viewed, especially when it intersects with sensitive topics. It also highlighted the risks celebrities take when engaging with viral trends, where the line between humor and insensitivity can be thin, and where the consequences can linger far beyond the moment itself. Blake Lively did eventually issue an apology for mocking Catherine, Princess of Wales, during the height of the Photoshop controversy, but the timing and tone of that apology became part of the broader conversation as well. After facing a wave of backlash online, she acknowledged that her post had missed the mark, describing it as a silly attempt to engage with the viral trend. She admitted that the reaction left her feeling embarrassed and even said the post had her mortified, which signaled that she understood how negatively it had been received. In her message, she expressed regret and sent well wishes, trying to close the moment on a more respectful note. However, the apology itself didn't fully erase the criticism. Many observers felt that it only came after the backlash reached a certain level, suggesting that the response was more reactive than proactive. The context also played a major role. What might have initially been perceived as just another celebrity jumping into a viral joke took on a different tone once more information came out about Kate's health. When it was later revealed that she had been dealing with cancer treatment, the earlier jokes and commentary were viewed much more harshly, and the situation became an example of how quickly public perception can shift when new facts emerge. This particular incident didn't exist in isolation either. For many people, it reinforced an image that they felt had been building over time through various public moments and media coverage. References to earlier phases of her career, including her time on Gossip Girl, were brought back into discussion, with some critics arguing that similar impressions had surfaced long before the current controversies. Whether fair or not, these past narratives contributed to how audiences interpreted her actions in this situation, making it easier for criticism to gain traction. Another key point raised in discussions around this moment was the intersection of personal branding and public sensitivity. The post in question was